Okay, and then I'm going to share my screen. All right. What we are going to do today, just to give you an overview, is I'm going to go over a couple of key takeaways from situation analysis, and then I will give you an example of how to make a team practice decision. And then actually, I'm going to go over the strategic plan worksheet in class later on. Okay. So, first of all, let's go out to Capsim. And I'm just going to log on to a team to tag along. And if you want to get to the situation analysis after you've completed, if you want to look back at it, go to getting started and then situation analysis. And remember, we're going to do 3 practice rounds, then we're going to reset the sim and start over from the initial start. And the first exercise in the situation analysis is this perceptual map. And what this does is it lets us know where the customers are. And the perceptual map on one axis shows the physical size of the sensor, and on the other, its performance rating. And these are used to kind of get an idea of how customers clump together into groups. And we have 2 different groups of customers in CapSim, the low-tech customers and the high-tech customers. They start off overlapping, and you have one product that's kind of in the middle that is appealing to both products at the start. Over the 8 rounds, they spread out and they move down and away as customers want smaller, better performing sensors. Each area also has a ideal spot. This is where they would really like it to be. Like high tech really wants it where this little magenta dot is. Low tech, to be honest, there's other things, and we'll see that later, that these customer groups want. But low tech customers are most interested in price, and they'll take one that's further back in the circle if the price is right. Now, the first thing we had you do here was plot out where those ideal spots will be. So we see that the low tech is moving at 0.5 increase in performance, 0.5 decrease in size each round. Key why this is really important is if you just sit still, the markets are going to move right by you. And let's say that you're designing a product and it's going to come out in round 2. It's going to take 2 years to especially a high tech product here. It's going to take 2 years to come out. Well, if you make it 6.6 and 12.2, which it is, when you start the R&D, by the time it comes out, the markets are going to have gone past it. So it helps us understand. These are moving at 0.5, 0.5. These are moving at 0.7, 0.7. Okay. Now, the next thing we did was a demand analysis, and we know how many sensors customers in the low tech and the high tech markets will demand, or high tech segments. We don't know how many our company is going to sell, but we know how many overall they're going to demand from all of the companies that are in the sim. That's going to be your company plus 5 different teams. Sorry. We know the market's growing at a 12% growth rate in the low tech and 18% in the high tech. And this is nice because let's say you're thinking about how big you want your factory to be for low tech. Well, if the whole market's going to take 7931, and that's actually 7,931,000, but I just leave the zeros off a lot. Then if there's 6 teams out there and you think on average everybody's going to have one low tech product, we might just divide this by 6 and get an idea for how big we want our capacity to be to make sensors. All right, so it helps us make educated guesses on where we're going to go. The next thing that we do is look at margins. Now, currently we have one product called Able. It's appealing to both low tech and high tech customers because it's the only show in town. It's not in a very good position, but they'll take it because it's all that's available. Now we have an assembly line, and each product needs its own assembly line. We have an assembly line with a first shift capacity of 800 or 800,000. We'll call it 800. There's 6 firms in the industry, so that's 4,800. Now, we can run a second shift. And with a second shift, we can have workers come in from 8 to 4, that's first shift. Workers come in from to 4 to midnight, that's second shift. And most manufacturing firms like to run 2 shifts because it allows them to use the same facility, day and night. And so we can make about 1,600 if we run a first and a second shift. They also had you just play. Currently, automation levels can go from 1 to 10. We have an automation rating of our product line, of our assembly line, of a 3 right now. And they had you look at how do we change that? How much does it cost to increase the capacity, or how much does it cost to increase automation? So there's some of the takeaways there. Let's see. Next, they had you look at margins. And last year we sold Able at $34. We buy materials. We buy sensors, or probably some sensors as well, but electronic components, switches, boards, things like that, transistors. Those come into our shop. We assemble them, and then we sell them to companies like Apple and stuff like that. All right. So this was our price. The material cost for those components that we were purchasing per unit was $16.17. The labor cost was $10.11. That gave us a contribution margin of $7.72 per unit, which is 22.7%. What that contribution margin means is every additional unit that we sell, if we don't have to increase our factory size, will contribute $7.72 to profit. Okay. This you're going to find out in the sim is a really low contribution margin. Our firms that we're taking over are pretty mediocre. So if we can do things to make customers pay more, especially high-tech customers will pay more, or to get costs down, or some combination of both, that can increase our margins. Here they had you just play kind of a what-if game. What if you had a monopoly in either the low-tech or the high-tech market? And they said, what's the maximum price you could sell at? Well, where you can get that is out in the fast track. And there are these market reports on page 5 and 6. This tells us everything we need to know about the low-tech customers. This tells us everything we need to know about our high-tech customers. Last year, we sold, like everybody else, 840 to low-tech customers and 360 to high-tech customers. What are low-tech customers looking for? They'd like a price between 15 and 35. They won't pay more than that. They'd like an age, the age of design, to be about 3 years. They don't want a brand new product. It's too scary. They don't want an older product than that. It's too old. They want reliability ratings between 14 and 20,000 in an ideal position between 4 and 14.8. Okay. High tech, they really will pay a premium for being right on that ideal spot, which is again at that leading edge. Their ideal age is 0. They want it brand new. Price, they'll pay as much as 45. Although if competition will give them a lower price for a good product, they're going to go with the competition. And then reliability, not that important to them, but between 17 and 23. So with that knowledge in hand, that's where we got these maximum prices. These were the most these guys would pay. They had you figure, given the worst product that they would accept, what would the minimum material costs be? And material costs, you could see, are driven by the mean time between failure. The lower the mean time between failure, the lower the material cost, because it's going to break easier. And also how high-tech the product is. So that's where if you go to the very trailing edge of their segments, that's the worst they would take. And so that just gave you an idea of some of the things involved here and what the contribution margins could possibly be. Will you ever have a monopoly in one of the segments? Probably not. But if you could, this is the kind of thing that you could shoot for, these kinds of margins. Now, again, some takeaways from this is from the fast track, we learn that different people, there's prices that they're kind of interested in, although they'll take better ones if competition gives them. We also know that cooler sensors take, and by cooler, I mean smaller size, higher performance. They they take more in material costs because we have to buy cooler inputs that we assemble. We also learn from this that labor cost is very much driven by automation. All right. This assumed an automation rating at 10, which slows your R&D, which is a problem. But if you can get to a 10 and you can manage your R&D well, you can really kill your labor costs and get them down. Okay. Now, the last thing they have you do is a consumer report. And this looks at the different things that these customers are looking for, all right? Price, reliability, age, positioning, awareness. Are the customers aware our product exists? Accessibility, how easy it is to deal with us. And then positioning is that combination of size and performance that comes up on that map. And the punchline here is, our products aren't great. An A is good, a B is okay, and a C is pretty bad. So the high-tech customers, the product's just not cool enough. They give it an overall rating, a C. All right. Low-tech customers, yeah, they're a little bit more okay with it. They like the age, the reliability is actually too good for them. But that's kind of where they are at. All right. Now, given that, what I want to do is take this company you are in, where we're going to make decisions in R&D, marketing, production, and finance, and then kicking in will come HR and TQM. This comes in the second round. This comes in the fourth. Get in your head what your company looks like. And you're a medium-sized manufacturing firm. You've got offices out front. You've got the factory in back. Up front, you've got marketing, finance, R&D, production, which works with HR. Currently in the back, you have one assembly line, able. It can make 800,000 with the first shift. And it runs at an automation level of 3. Each company, each product needs its own assembly line. So if we develop a new product, we've got to develop a new assembly line for it. If you ever want to get rid of a product, you just sell off its assembly line. And then we have inventory. Now, I think it's good to get kind of that view in your mind of what your company looks like. At the same time, it's also good, again, we have these 2 markets. The foundation fast track is really, really important. And step 5, went over getting it. I'll also show you how you can get it from the decision software. It comes out each year with new data on what happened in the sim. Now, the other part that I was just jumping to was that you also have to understand the uploading and downloading, and that's something you'll become more familiar with during the practice sessions. And kind of a view of your sim is here are your teammates, you're on the Andrews company. You're competing against these computer teams. All computer teams are set to an average skill level, all right? They're beatable. So don't think, oh gosh, how can we compete against a computer? They program the computer to not be that horrible to compete against. Now, another important thing is decision software called Foundation.xls. This is decision software and data on the simulation that's updated after each round. And when you did the rehearsal sim, you were working with kind of an image of that where you were making decisions. And I'm going to go over using that in a minute. Now, a few things to keep in mind. Your team has some file space out here in the CapSim website, which is your official decision file. The way around will normally go is the team will make decisions. They will upload them to the official decision file. When it comes time for the sim to run, which will be 9 a.m. on the due date, and they're in the syllabus, the sim will compare your decisions to the computer decisions, see what everybody sold, give the financial results, and move us on to the next round. When you open up this Foundation.xls, it will show you the conditions for where we currently are. It's where you'll make decisions. Anybody has the power to upload to the official decision file. You can overwrite that a million bazillion times before the due date and time, but whatever is in that file at the due date and time is what's going to be run for your team. You also have some draft space out here that only you can see. Be real careful using it because some people think they did an official upload and they didn't. But I'll show you where you do an official upload in a little bit. To kind of go over this again, each team has a file at Capsim where the team's decisions are stored, and each member of the team can save and retrieve decisions from this file. This is the official decision file, all right? And that's where the sim, and I can look into it as well. Your teammates can, stuff like that. Any upload decision can be overwritten a million bazillion times before the round due date and time. At the due date and time for the round, whatever decisions are in the team's official file will be processed in the sim and results will become available. When you then open foundation.xls, you'll be in the next round after it runs. Each team member also has a draft space where each team member can store decisions, but only the team member can access it. So be a little careful with this. I don't recommend using it, or at least use it with caution. I've had team members tell me that a team member uploaded a decision by the deadline, but they were in draft. So the sim couldn't see it, I couldn't see it, the teammates couldn't see it. These don't count as an official upload. Now, another little wrinkle that I want to make sure you understand, if you're all on or several of you are on the system, the foundation.xls at the same time, it does not real-time update. If multiple teammates are on foundation.xls at the same time, it does not real-time update so that you immediately see any entries a teammate makes. So the idea is, if you put a 10 in your screen, it's not just going to pop up on theirs. Because what you're doing is, what you have to do is save your decisions to that file, that official decision file, and then everybody in the team can download those decisions. And it's pretty easy to do. Again, if you are in foundation.xls and you want to see changes a teammate just made on their file, they need to upload or save the decision to the team's official decision file. You need to then click on Undo to Official Decisions. This will change all entries you see to whatever's in the official decision file, what the team just uploaded. Communication is key. I like to have a scratch paper, write decisions on, uploading regularly if you're making lots of decisions, because sometimes the internet gets cranky and you can get kicked out and you lose things. But again, if you want to see what other people have done, they need to upload that to the official decision file. Then you need to undo to official decisions, or just go into the foundation.xls, and those are the ones that we'll read. Okay, strategic goals for my practice decision example. I'm going to make and sell my current product, Able, and begin to transition towards it being a profitable product aimed at low-tech customers. It's stuck in the middle right now, which you can survive right now because everybody is. But that's going to be a tough place to be as people begin to customize towards the two areas. Then I'm going to start a new product called Ace that will be targeted towards high-tech customers. Okay, so let's, with that in hand, go out to the decision software. So here you click on Decisions, and I'm going to launch the web spreadsheet. All right, going across here, I have a little coach I could turn on that kind of talk to me if I want as I go along and give me some insights. Here's where I can update decisions. I can update official decisions or save to draft. Here's where I can do that undo to official decisions, or if we all got really confused, I can just undo to whatever the default decisions were. Here's where we actually make our decisions, and R&D, marketing, production, HR will kick in round 2, finance, and then later on we will also have TQM, which will come in the 4th round. Here we have proformas, which are if we hit our forecast. Here's what our income statement will look like. Here's what our balance sheet will look like, stuff like that. And then here we have the actual reports. We have all the different pages of the fast track. There's the front page, and we can just scroll down from there. And again, those product reports are something that I find really important. And I'll go over probably after we run this practice round what some good reports to look like are. And then there's help. You can bring up the team member guide, you can search for help, you can contact them, you can contact me. So lots of different things we can do. Now, the first thing I want to do is make some changes to Able. I'm in R&D here. Here's Able. It's currently got a performance rating of 5.6, a size of 13.2. Today is the first day of 2023. This is where the perceptual map will be at the end of this year. So they're assuming it moved once. We are stuck in the middle. Here's what our material costs currently are. Our current age is 3.1 and 4.1. Well, what I did was I studied this low-tech segment report. They like a price between 15 and 35. I'm not just going to drop the price straight down because there's no real reason yet. I mean, I don't need to start a price war or anything like that. They like that ideal age of 3, and it's at 3.1 now. What I kind of like to do with age for low tech is when it gets have it come out of R&D when it's at 4, because when it comes out of a new R&D, it cuts the perceived age in half. All right. So I want to go up from 4 to 2 to 4 to 2 and keep moving over that 3. Mean time between failure, that's what they want, and that's the area they want. Well, I really don't want to do a performance change, because let's say I put 5.5 here. I just nick it a little bit. That's going to drop the age to 1.6. I think I am going to wait a year and do some really quick performance or size changes to cut that age next year, so it'll get it back down into that good zone. I do remember, though, that these guys for mean time between failure, they wanted between 14 and 20,000, and for high tech, they want between 17 and 23,000. I can save some material cost by dropping this a bit. Now, I don't want to alienate those high-tech customers, because I still, for a round or two, I might be able to sell to them before, people really customize. But I'm going to put in 17,000. Notice that's going to take about 2 months till February 27th to come out. It'll just keep aging because I'm not changing the performance or the size. All I'm doing is, if it was like a cell phone, I'm putting on a little cheaper cover. It's going to still be the same model. But what that allows me to do is reduce my material costs by about $1.50. I'm going to give some of that back to the customer. I'm going to keep some of it for myself. So we end up with a win-win. Okay. So I am going to go into, that's what I'm going to do for R&D. I'm just going to change this next year. I'm just going to move it a little bit, probably kick it backwards just a little bit and let it continue to drift, and cut that age from, it'll be 4.2. I'll get it down like 2.1. Then I'll get it back up over 3. All right. So I'm next going to go to marketing. In marketing, I can lower the price. Remember, I saved about $1.50 on material costs. I'm going to give 50 cents of that back to the customer. Some people say, well, low-tech customers want a low price. Let's just drop our price right away. And probably not a great idea to do that, because you don't have to yet. I mean, unless you want to start a price war. As your costs get in better shape, yeah, but you need low cost to drop prices, because you remember your margins aren't that high as it is. The next thing I want to do, really read this through about promo budget. This is, do people know we exist? And what I find is you lose, if this is, promo budget is what drives awareness. So if I go out to reports for low tech, this is where we have that problem of why it's good to save. Let me see if it'll let me save here. I'm going to update official decisions. No, it didn't like that. I waited too long. Okay, I'm going to have to go back, get out of this and go back in. But this is why it's kind of good to save regularly. Tip the draft or the official decision file. Just make sure that it's your official decision to save that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to file. Something just happened to my internet connection. So I'm going to exit. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to go to here. I'm going to log into a team, log into these guys, and then I go into decisions, launch the web spreadsheet, and go into decisions, R&D. Remember, I cut this to 17,000. And then over here in marketing, what I've done so far is drop my price to and recalculate. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Update official decisions. I'm going to update all team decisions. You can do it by area. Whether you're say you're ready or not when the due date and time comes. But I'm going to go ahead and save those just in case I do get kicked out again. Now, for promo budget is what drives awareness. And if I look down here and remember from the situation analysis, our awareness rating was only 55%, which was like a C. So people don't really know we exist. So I'm going to spend some more on promotion. And how much am I going to spend? Well, read this through and you'll know it once, but to cut to the chase here, but read this through still because there's some other things I'm leaving out. You lose a third. So if we did nothing, we'd lose a third of 55% if we spent nothing on promotion. Now the first million gives us 22%. The second million, another 23. So that would give us a total of 45%. So 55 would get knocked down by a third. And if we spent 2 million, we'd add back another 45, which would give us, put us up around 70 or so. So get us moving in the right direction. I like that 2 million amount. I think that's reasonable here because you'll see there's decreasing returns if I don't do that. And yeah, the third million only adds 5%. Now, sales budget drives accessibility. Can people get our product? Because they might know it exists and not be able to get it. We don't have the distribution network. And our accessibility is really low. It's only 40%. So I need to spend more on sales. Okay. Works in a similar fashion. You lose about a third each year. 1 million adds 7%. 2 million adds a total of 22%. 3 million adds a total of 32%. I'm going to go ahead and go with 2 million here. Now notice what happens to this benchmark prediction. It goes up, which tells me I'm doing good things that the customers will like. The next thing I need to do is come up with a forecast. A lot of people's eyes immediately go to this benchmark prediction. And just to clarify this, the benchmark prediction estimates unit sales, assuming your product competes with a standardized mediocre playing field. It does not use your actual competitors' products. It's useful experimenting with price promo and sales budget. It's useless for forecasting. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just show you one technique we could use to forecast for an existing product. And what we're going to do is an extrapolation. Okay. And again, I'm not saying any of these decisions are great or correct. They're just designed to let you see what a practice round is like. All right. Now, if I went out to the reports, remember, I sold 840 last year at a 12% growth rate. So if we just sold what we did last year plus the industry growth rate to low tech, that would give us 940.8. For high tech, if you remember, I sold 360, 18%. That's 424. I put those two together and I get 1,365. That's my extrapolated forecast adjusted for growth rates. And to just review, where did I get that information? Well, if I go out to, let me get rid of that. If I go out to reports, low tech, there's the growth rate, 12%. There's what I sold last year, just assuming I sell that same amount next year plus the growth rate. Down here, here's the growth rate, 18%. There's what I sold last year. So what I'm going to put in for my forecast is, let me just remember what I had there, 1365. Now, this forecast is going to drive all my pro formas. It's going to drive my sales budgets. They're all going to assume I get my forecast. And so all those, projections are just as good as your forecast is. All right. Now, the next thing we are going to do is go into production. Now, in production, this is where we schedule our assembly line. This is where we make bigger assembly lines or automate assembly lines or make new assembly lines. So this is investing in assembly lines themselves. This is scheduling existing assembly lines. Now we have to make sure we have at least enough product on hand to cover our forecast, or we'll never get our forecast. We will run out of product first. And so looking here, our unit sales forecast came over. We have 87 in inventory. Here's where we ask how much we want made. Now, we never get quite that because the line's going to be down a little while when we switch over and things like that. And we're going to get some defects. So what we want is we want our production after adjustment plus our inventory to at least cover our sales forecast. That way, we won't stock out before we get to our sales forecast. And to be honest, the default decision here isn't that bad. 1,287 plus 87 is 1,374. That's 9 over our forecast. Yeah, we'll cover it and plus have a little bit more. We will automatically run 62.5% of a second shift. Now, I don't mind the size of my assembly line right now. It's got some room for growth with Able because I can make about twice this first shift capacity. So I'm not going to buy or sell capacity right now. I would like, since it's a low-tech product, I'd like it to be more automated because that's going to drive down my labor cost, which will allow me to get lower prices. Now you're constrained pretty much on your max invest the first round. I'm going to want to come and make an assembly line new product, ACE. So I'm just moving this up by 1 unit. All right, I'd like to move it up more, but we're going to be in subsequent rounds. Over here is where you'll make a couple of decisions in the second round in human resources. Okay, so that took care of some of the things I want to do with Able. The next thing I want to do is come up with a new product called ACE. I'm going to target this high-tech segment. And remember, they want that ideal position. They want an ideal age of 0. So I'm going to do R&D on the high-tech product every single round because that's going to, every round, going to keep cutting the R&D in half after I initially build it. And there's price and reliability. Well, I studied this and I said, well, a reasonable place to be for ACE, and I type in ACE here, reasonable place to be is a performance level of 8.5 and a size of 10. And then I said for mean time between failure, about 20,000. And then I'll hit recalculate. Today, again, is the first day of 2023. That will not come out until October of 2024. Its age of revision will be 0. It's going to be pretty far out there. But remember, this is where there'll be a year from now. By October, it's going to be another 0.7, 0.7. So it's going to be pretty much right on the cusp, I think, when the time comes. You've got to lead these segments because I want to be able to do just little changes to keep it high every year to give that customer what they want. It's going to be a cooler product, so the material costs are going to be more. It will come in with a 0 age. I can flip over here to marketing, and I can't make any decisions here for ACE because it's not going to be out this year. I do, however, want to make an assembly line because, let me just give you an idea, and I think my dates are a little bit off here. It's actually going to take till like October, but the idea is still the same. We could build an assembly line now. It would be done here. It would sit idle. Oops. It would sit idle until the product came out of R&D. Now, if it was a low-tech product, I might wait. It takes a year to do new plant and equipment. If it was a low-tech product, I might wait till I get to here and go ahead and let it age a little bit, let that design age. But since it's a practice round and I want to sell something, and these customers want the latest and greatest, so I hate to have my great design sit there, I'm going to start building an assembly line now. So the year after this coming year, I'll be able to sell some ACE. I won't be able to produce and sell it for a little while, but I want to get some out there during the practice. Learn from my mistakes. Whoops, I'm spending too much. I play with this a little while. It would let me make one that has a first shift capacity of 250 if it could run a whole year and an automation rating of 2. Some of my products think those are decent decisions. Now I have to go into finance and see where I stand. And finance does two big things. It gets you money and it gets rid of money. And ways we can get money are by issuing common stock. We can also get rid of money by retiring stock or giving dividends. We can get money using current debt less than a year, or we can get money doing long-term bonds. And these are the long-term bonds. We currently have outstanding ones. We could get rid of money by retiring them early, or we could just hold on to them. You pay the interest each year, but you don't pay the principal until they come due. Another important thing we do is manage cash. Now, if we hit our forecast, at the end of the year, we'll have 3.6 million in cash. Let me just get an idea. Let me let the software figure out for me if that's reasonable. Let's say I only sold 1,200. Now it's going to compute all my pro formas and all my projections using 1,200. Whoops, I'll run a cash. What I think I'm going to do is, just to make sure I don't run a cash, I'm going to borrow 2,000. Now, I could, if I do run out of cash, I get an emergency loan. It's not the end of the world. You don't go bankrupt. You don't have to sit out around or anything. It's just you have to pay a high interest emergency loan. But I'd like to avoid that. Now, again, I'm going to go and, just to clean it up, put in my original forecast, which is 1.65. And then I should, have, even if I do poorly, I'll have a decent cash holding. And here I won't have that much more than last year if I do hit. So that's pretty reasonable. Okay, for a practice run, I think that's pretty good. So what I can do is I can go into update official decisions. Again, I can do it by product or by department. Teams might want to do this. You can check this box, but it's going to run when it runs regardless. I'm going to just upload all team decisions and hit save, and that's it. Okay, well, I wish you all good luck, and do let me know if you have any questions. Okay, stop sharing here real quick and stop my video.